Hello and welcome to Empire of Wargames. My name is Eplash and today we are talking about the 2022 Skaven Battleforce, the Verminous host, and we are going to talk about points, pricing, savings, upgrades and more. If you enjoy the content, consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing, as well as checking the links down in the description below if you want to support what I do. As always, check out the pinned comment when it comes to updates regarding the battle forces. Official pricing will be updated on our Discord server, so you can join there if you want to. And yeah, all the other updates when it comes to my community articles and further videos regarding the faction will be linked down there as well. And with that, why don't we get into the video and talk a little bit about what is in the Skaven Battleforce. First up, let's talk a little bit about the number of models in this box. You're getting 85 models in this box. If you're a new player, if you're new to Warhammer 40,000 and this is your first box, please God, don't buy anything else before you finish this box because you're going to get overwhelmed. This box alone is a lot. You don't have to paint your Plague Monks or your Clan Rats in the most beautiful way possible. It's difficult because the models are a little bit older and there's a certain lack of detail there, but still, it is 85 models and some of them are big. The Screaming Bell is huge. The Storm Fiends are huge, so yeah, take your time, don't buy anything else first, and buy potential upgrades once you're finished with this box, because 85 models is a crazy amount of models. And with that, why don't we talk about the models in specific? First up, we are talking about the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell or the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace. I've seen a lot of criticism regarding this model because it is included again. I think it was part of the Broken Realms box, it was part of the Echoes of Doom box, and it is part of a value box now again. And I think GW is overdoing it here. The better model to include would be a Vermin Lord or anything like that. Maybe a little bit something else that is a little bit cheaper. Warp Lightning Cannon, maybe. You have another leader choice in this box. It is entirely possible. Although a Warp Lightning Cannon would have probably made this box too similar to the Vanguard box. So yeah, a Vermin Lord would have probably been the better choice. But other than that, how are the rules? The rules for the basic Grey Seer on Screaming Bell are super weird. You need Clan Rats to push the thing. It is not better at casting than a regular Grey Seer on foot. And even if you get it pushed into an enemy unit, you have a lot of attacks, but they usually don't do a lot. Yeah, it's a weird model. It needs changes. It needs a little bit of kind of something different. It needs some kind of help. I don't know. Thankfully though, you can assemble this model in a different way, namely as a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace. That means that you have a little bit more options, a little bit more variability, and it means that the usually very expensive, very fixed and not kind of interchangeable HQ model in this box, or a leader choice, I have 40k Brain Rot, is not a reason to not buy this box twice, because you can assemble one as a Grey Seer and the other one as a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace and you're good to go. Now, also the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace and all the Plague Monks you have in the box, we're going to talk about them in a second, kind of push you towards the more Pestilent Skaven kind of route. But yeah, it's all in all a model that has been discounted over and over and over again. And the only recent box that it hasn't been in is the Vanguard box. Next up, we are talking about our Clan Rats, and you're getting 2 full boxes worth, so 40 Clan Rats. These are your basic battle line units. You need them no matter which kind of type of Skaven army you want to play. I think 40 is fine. You can usually run more. You can always run more. They are very cheap. But I think 40 is a good start. You need to paint them all. Remember that. And yeah, there's really not much more to add here. They're your basic battle line. They're usually chaff. They are just there to roadblock certain enemy units. They are there to keep things away from objectives or from kind of, I don't know, certain ruins or something you don't want to have occupied by your enemy. And that is their job. They are not going to be killing a lot of things without any support. And they are certainly not going to make their points back just if they are just left on their own. But as I said previously, if you are running the Grey Seer and Screaming Bell or the Plague Furnace and so on, you kind of need models to push that thing, and having 40 of them is definitely not a bad idea. It also enables you to play 2 squads of 20, and with the Plague Monks together, depending on which army you go with, you can fill 3 battle line squads with this army, which is a great thing to have. And next up, let's talk about the Plague Monks. You can have them as battle line if you have a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, and you can enable them as battle line in other ways as well. The one problem with these models, as well as the clan rats actually, is that the models are very, very, very dated. And that is something I personally have a problem with. You may don't mind. So if you are thinking about starting Skaven, and if you're considering kind of collecting the army and going all in on them, check out the GW web store and take a closer look at the models and maybe at the sprues and so on. And yeah, just think if the models have the quality you would want them to have. That is something very important to consider with Skaven, because while some models like the Storm Fiends, we are going to talk about in a little bit, are some of my favorite models in all of Age of Sigmar, usually their smaller battle line units or chaff units are very, very old. So yeah, there's that. But other than that, the Plague Monks, as I said previously, together with the Plague Furnace, enable you to play a really decent Pestilent army. And yeah, you can go and have fun with that. That is also the build I would personally recommend if you go with this box. But as always, if you update this with the Combat Patrol box and so on, you can go with different clans as well. So you have a lot of options. Pestilent just seems the way GW wants you to play this list. Next up, we are going to talk about the other leader choice of the box, which I forgot to mention previously, and it is the Warlord Bombardier. This one is a great inclusion together with the Storm Fiends, because they kind of support each other, they buff each other, and you see a lot of lists running both with the Bombardier supporting the Storm Fiends. And that is simply because the Bombardier, if you're a Skaven veteran, obviously lost the ability to overcharge Warp Lightning cannons, and thus it is not as viable to supporting that specific unit. So yeah, the Bombardier is just a cheaper leader choice that is included in here as well. Works well with the Storm Fiend, so it is great to see a little bit of synergy in this box and a little bit of cohesion as well, which is not the norm for especially Age of Sigmar Battle Force. A lot of Age of Sigmar Battle Forces are all over the place, and this one seems to be a little bit more cohesive. And last but not least, we have the Storm Fiends. The Storm Fiends are your big punchy dudes. They hit hard, they are durable, and if they get the support from the Bombardier I mentioned earlier, they can be quite reliable as well. They're a great unit. They're included in the Vanguard box as well, so that takes a little bit away of the kind of value of them, but not really. It is just another way to get them cheaply if you wanted to, say, play Clan Scryer. So you have all the options in regards to that. And as I said, having synergies in a Battle Force is not usually the thing, especially for Age of Sigmar. So yeah, the synergies are a good thing to have. So all in all, 85 models, a lot to paint, a lot to collect. The most important things to consider is, are the battle line units or the smaller units like Plague Monks and Clan Rats up to your standard when it comes to model kind of looks and the feel, because GW has advanced a lot in the past 20 years and you can see that, and these models are quite old. And the other thing to consider is whether you are a new player or a veteran. If you are a veteran and if you really already have 2 Graciers on Screaming Bell and a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace or something, if you have 3 of these models, don't buy this box. It doesn't make any sense for you at all. This box is 100% targeted at new players or at players who just have a single box, like maybe an Echoes of Doom half or maybe just the Vanguard box, and they want to update or upgrade a little bit. And for them it is perfect, and for completely new players. But for any veteran who has kind of 2,000, 3,000 points of Skaven, it is probably not worth it at all. Alright, next up we are going to talk about the pricing. As always, £135 is purely speculative. We have no official pricing as of yet. For any updates, check out the pinned comment. If there's going to be any confirmation on official pricing, you're going to find it there. Other than that, as you can see, even at a very pessimistic, in my opinion, £135 or $220, we are still sitting at a mighty 35% savings. That is quite a bit above the average we expect here on the channel, which is usually around 30%, and anything above 33% is really, really damn good. So if this box is any cheaper, if this box costs, say, £125, even though it has older models, it is definitely worth the money at that point. If it's any more expensive, it then loses value quite rapidly. And if you look at the Australian pricing, it is way off. I'm not sure quite why, but I think it is just that the Skaven units are quite old, and thus the pricing is all over the place for Australia there, and thus the savings suffer quite tremendously. You're saving less than Canadians do, which is weird. Maybe I've made a mistake in the calculations, but I don't think so. So yeah. Standalone for £135, I would recommend this box if you don't mind the older models. If it's cheaper, it is a definite buy it at that point. And if it's any more expensive, I would then consider again and check out with your third-party store or with your local friendly retailer to check out what kind of allocation you are going to get and what kind of savings you can expect on these specific boxes. Next up, let's talk about points. So when we talk about points, we see that the base list as presented by GW on their box art, on a presentation picture basically, is 1,320 points, and you probably won't go any higher than that because the units in there are pretty fixed, so there is nothing to be changed there. 1,320 points is way above the average we expect of around 1,000 points, and that is a great thing to see. Especially with a Skaven army, which is usually considered to be a little bit more expensive to collect all in all. So yeah, 1,320 points means you don't need all too much to add to get to a 2,000 points army. Now another list I wanted to quickly show you is basically just me having switched out the Gracier on Screaming Bell against a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace to enable us to have 3 battle line units for later use for bigger lists. And yeah, it just seems that GW kind of figured that this list or this box would be played like that, even though they weirdly enough didn't present it that way on their box art. But I think playing this box as a Pestilent kind of clan army would make a lot of sense, just purely speaking from the models that are included with the Plague Monks, with the Plague Furnace and so on. Now one thing I would like to add here is that it would have been cool to have maybe 20 less Plague Monks or 20 less Clan Rats and having an additional kit of Storm Vermin. I think having a little bit more variety in here, especially when it comes to battle line and infantry, would have been great, but yeah, it is what it is. Next up, we are going to talk about upgrades, and the first and most obvious upgrade, especially for new players, is probably going to be the Vanguard box, because that box is going to save you a little bit of money yet again and enable you to have a relatively cheap 2,000 points army without having to think a lot about all the specific kits you need to buy and all the separate stuff you need to consider. Now it has to be said that this kind of box kind of pushes you a little bit more towards Clan Scryer territory, but as always you can play them however you want and you have to take that with a grain of salt. Now in the Vanguard box you are going to get a Gracier on foot, you are getting 20 additional Clan Rats, you are getting 3 Storm Fiends and a Warp Lightning Cannon that can also be built as a catapult. All in all, I think that the Vanguard box is a great little box, especially for the Skaven. A lot of people recommend picking it up twice as a starting force. So if you're watching this video and if there are no battle forces available anymore, picking up the Vanguard box twice is definitely not a bad start. And you are at that point definitely going to be playing Clan Scryer. Just paint them however you want and play them however you want, but you're probably going to play them more as Clan Scryer at that point. And I wanted to add that 60 Clan Rats, even though it seems like quite a lot, is still manageable. 60 Clan Rats is still fine. A lot of Skaven players are obviously going to say, hey, I have 200 of them. But as a new player, 60 is definitely okay. I wouldn't buy any additional ones at that point. And I would just kind of look at additional value boxes that are certainly going to release over the next couple of years. And you're going to get Clan Rats that way. Don't buy them separately. I think the same applies to Storm Vermin and Plague Monks. If you want Storm Vermin now, you can buy them separately, and it's a decent little upgrade for your battle line, and it adds a little bit of variety, but I'm fairly certain whenever a new Skaven kind of value box is going to release, you're definitely going to get those units in there at a discount. Now, one last thing I wanted to recommend as an update, just as kind of a separate box update, would be a Vermin Lord. No matter which kind of clan you're going to go with, no matter what kind of experiments you want to make with your list, a Vermin Lord is never a bad idea to include in your army. It is a fairly solid model. It fills out a lot of points, but it is also worth those points. And it's a cool model to paint, and it makes for a little painting project as well. So all in all, that model is a great thing to have in your army. That model rarely gets discounted. I think the last time we've seen a Vermin Lord discounted was in a 2018 Battleforce, if I'm not mistaken. So it has been a while. And yeah, that model is just worth it to be picked up separately if you want to. Lastly, real quick, just to add that if you have the Echoes of Doom box, and if that is your only half and your only models when it comes to Skaven, it is definitely worth it to pick up the new Battleforce and add it to your kind of Echoes of Doom Skaven half to round it out and have a full army of at least 1,500 points ish, so you can play a little bit around with that, and I maybe add a Vermin Lord and round that out to 2,000 points. And yeah, just have a 2,000 point Skaven army and let it sit there, or maybe you want to then expand it later on. But I just wanted to have it for the record that I think that the Echoes of Doom half together with the Battleforce is not a bad force at all. Alright, and with that we are coming to the rating and conclusion part of the video. All in all, I think this box is great. It offers a lot of points, the savings are looking super solid, and while the models are definitely nothing for veterans, new players are definitely going to have a lot of fun with this box, and it is decently playable out of the box as well, and offers a great upgrade path together with the Vanguard box. If you want to lean a little bit more towards Clan Scryer, you can buy separately to expand your Pestilent options. If you want to go that route because you have a lot of Plague Monks, you can build a Plague Furnace, or you can just go out and buy a Vermin Lord and then keep yourself flexible, play a little bit around, test out the army and get a feel for all the different clans before you decide to commit. There are a lot of options. I personally really like this box. I think it's not bad. Veterans, obviously, it's not for you. I'm very sorry, but yeah, it is definitely something for new players or players who just have, say, one half of the Echoes of Doom box, or maybe just a Vanguard box, or maybe just one kit of anything else. So yeah, all in all, I would give this box a rating of 8 out of 10. It is very high, but I think that this box deserves it, especially if it's going to be even cheaper for 125 pounds, which I really do hope it costs. This box is definitely a clear kind of recommendation from my side to buy it. As always, and as I said previously in the video, check out the models, check out if they're up to your standards, or if you like the models, especially the Plague Monks and the Clan Rats, and then decide from there whether you want to start the Skaven army or not. But other models like the Storm Fiends, the Screaming Bell, the Plague Furnace, the Vermin Lord later on if you want to add it, the Warlock Bombardier, Grey Seer, and so on. There are a lot of really cool models for the Skaven. So yeah. Skaven are a fun army to play, a fun army to collect, and all in all, I really like this box, for new players especially. If you're a veteran, it sucks and you're probably not going to pick it up, but for new players, it is a definite recommendation. If you have any opinions on this box of your own, any upgrade ideas, maybe anything I've missed, because as I said previously in a lot of videos, I'm no Age of Sigmar expert, but I do a lot of research and I play some games here or there. So please, if you have anything to add, any recommendations, anything I've missed, put it in the comments below. I would really appreciate that. Other than that, I hope this was insightful and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.